Good afternoon, students. In the previous classes, we have discussed about introduction to ecology. Let us move further for further concept. What ecology is? So, what is meant by ecology? Ecology is nothing but it is a scientific study of a relationship between organisms and their environment. Yeah, the scientific study of interactions between organisms and their environment, focusing on energy transfer. It is a science of relationship. Actually, these relationships are complex, these relationships are varied, these relationships are hierarchical. It is nothing but it is just an interaction or a scientific study between organisms and their environment, their habitat, what they are living for. That is nothing but what ecology term says. The word ecology was first time used by whom? Who was the scientist who used the word ecology for the first time? So he is nothing but a German biologist Ernst Haeckel in the year 1869. He used the term ecology for the first time. So he also gave the definition for ecology. Haeckel, that is Ernst Haeckel, defined ecology as the study of natural environment, including the relationships of organisms to one another and their surroundings. What will be the relationship of an organism if we are together under the same roof? That is called as ecology, as well as what is the interference of an organism with the surroundings, how the organism interact with the surrounding, how the organism connect with the surrounding, in turn how the surrounding will interact with an organism. So he just defined the study of natural environment, including the relations of organism to one another. What is organism to organism interaction being in under the same roof and to their surroundings. So how we interact to the surroundings, in the same way we get benefit from the surroundings. If we interact positively, and even the surrounding will be that safe and clean, and that reacts us, that reflects us back in a positive way. So that's what he quoted, and he is the first person who has taken or who has defined the word or the term called as ecology in the year 1869. So what ecology means? Ecology, it is derived from the Greek word where oikos, it is meaning house or dwelling place where we are living. That we are going to call it as oikos, means the house or dwelling place where we are living, that is termed to be as oikos. And logos, as you all know, it is nothing but meaning studying. Okay, so it is the one which is derived from a Greek word oikos, and logos means house, dwelling place, and to study of respectively. So now, before moving to the ecosystem is a vast chapter. You need to know, it drags your attention towards, because where we are staying, entire biodiversity comes under ecosystem. Okay, it is a big section. We have to move. Before moving to that, we have to know the each and every basic concepts. So hence we are dealing with ecology, physical environment, soil, what is the composition of soil, temperature, what does the light, I mean what is the effect of light on plants, and about atmosphere and air, what are the different layers of atmosphere, so on and so forth we are going to study. Before this all, we have to know some basic things. What do you mean by environment? What is environment? We all know atmosphere, we all know air, it contains all gases and all. I just want to know what is environment. Environment is nothing but organisms, and their environments are dynamic and interdependent. We as organisms and surrounding is nothing but our environment, is dynamic and is interdependent. The term environment etymologically means surroundings itself. Okay, it includes everything. It includes everything in the sense it can be classified as biotic and abiotic. Biotic means the one which is living, abiotic the one which is not living. But it makes a important in, it makes its own importance in a surrounding. It makes its own importance being there in the environment. So and everything means it is either biotic as well as abiotic that surrounds an organism. Any factor, biotic or abiotic, that influences living organism is called as environmental factor. We are influenced by biotic factors also. We being human beings or organisms are influenced by abiotic factors also. Okay, such factor or any factor, it may be biotic, it may be abiotic, that influences living organisms is termed to be as environmental factors. Environmental factors, in other sense, we also would call it as ecological factor or eco factor. Okay, abiotic factor, what are the abiotic factor? It may be temperature, it may be sunlight, it may be pH of water, it may be soil, it may be light, it may be pressure, it may be temperature, it may be atmosphere, so on and so forth, which constitutely forms the abiotic factors. When we talk about biotic factors, it may include availability of prey, competitors, predators, parasites, animals. We also are biotic factors. So this in turn will make a complete environment. Okay, organisms and their surroundings are literally dynamic and are interdependent. We are dependent on environment for everything. How we act towards environment, in the same way environment reflects us back. So we both are interdependent. We can't live without abiotic factors. Can we live without air? Can we live without gases? Can we live without light? If a light is not there for a moment, then how we feel? Then if a natural light is not there, then how do we feel later on? So we as a human beings are dependent on environment, and we are just interdependent on each other, we can say. So entire thing constitute to make a term called as environment. So yeah, environment is made up of two major factors: biotic factors and abiotic factors. Biotic factors, all living organism inhabiting the earth, means which makes its habitat as a earth, comes under biotic factors. A cell will give a life, and those who have life will come under living organisms. Abiotic factors are nothing but they are non-living parts of the environment, such as temperature, soil, light, moisture, air currents, atmosphere. Everything will come under abiotic factors. So when we talk about soil, what is soil? What makes it important to be a biotic factor? uh, what it is, what is meant by soil? Soil, as you all know, it's a basic thing to know. It's a uppermost weathered layer of earth's crust. Actually, it is a mixture of weathered mineral, rock particles, organic matters. It may be both living and dead, water as well as air. It is combination of all these things. So soil is biologically active matrix and a home of all diverse organisms. We do have a habitat on a soil itself, and organisms also will have a habitat in soil itself. They make the habitat, it becomes a vast habitat, it becomes a diverse habitat and home for all the living organisms. And what you are going to call the study of soil as? The study of soil is called as pedology. Okay, so what is the components of soil? What are there in a soil? Soil is composed of mineral particles, organic matters, air, water. Mineral particles also include sand, silt, and clay. So the relative proportions of the relative proportion of silt and clay in the soil are referred to be as soil texture. You might be knowing. You just see, whenever you are going to buy, you just see the texture of it, texture of a cloth or whatever you are buying. In the same way, if we see the texture of a soil, what does it include? It too has something in it as a component with the relative proportions of what? Of sand, of silt and clay in the soil, completely are referred to as soil texture. Okay, so the soil is also composed of organic matter, which includes living biomass, detritus and humus. Okay, so we have soil air also, like it is a mixture of gases that are present in the soil pores that are not at all filled with water, especially which are the soil gases. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are important constituents, and their concentration in the soil affects many processes, like it may be nitrification, it may be denitrification. Okay, so when we talk about soil water, what is soil water? Soil water can contribute up to 30% of soil volume and is essential for the activity and physiological functioning of the organisms in the soil. We have so many nutrients in the soil. They are named as macronutrients and micronutrients. The one nutrient which is required in a less amount is called as micro. The one which is useful in a large amount is called as macro. Not only these, we have organisms in the soil helpful for nitrification, denitrification, for all the processes to make the soil fertile. It has to be in the soil. So, soil water are actually according to the nature of interaction between soil particles and water molecules, soil water will be classified mainly into hygroscopic water, capillary water, gravitational water, chemically combined water, and runoff water. So, here you are supposed to see hygroscopic water, capillary water, and gravitational water. So what is hygroscopic water? These are the soil waters only. And not all the water the plants can intake. Only there is one kind of water the plant root can widely utilize it, can widely take it. Only one kind of, which it is, we'll study now. Hygroscopic water means it is the water present as a thin film around the soil particles and it remains firmly attached is called as hygroscopic water. It is not utilized by plants and it is unavailable form of water. Why it is unavailable form of water? Because water is present in the form of thin film. See here, bluish color, whatever you are seeing, this is water itself. But water is not present in liquid form. When water is present in a liquid form, only then the plant root can absorb such kind of water and take utilize of it for its development and growth. When water is formed in the form of thin film around soil particles, whether such kind of water can the roots absorb? No. That is unavailable kind of water for the plant roots to absorb. So hygroscopic water is unavailable form of water. Next we'll go for gravitational water. So what is gravitational water? What is gravitational force? The force which is derived by the earth which takes everything towards it is called as gravitational force. So gravitational water means the water that percolates deep into the soil due to gravitational force of the earth that constitutes groundwater. It is non-available form of water. Here and there you dig bore wells, you dig trenches, you take out digs and all. The water will be there. How do you find that water? It is nothing but due to gravitational force, the water whatever present on the surface, it will be percolating inside the earth due to its gravitational force, and that water will be remaining, that acts as a groundwater, and up to there roots of a plant cannot reach. Roots of the plant will reaches to only maximum extent. That will be groundwater, will be unavailable form of water. So gravitational water is nothing but it is a kind of water which percolates deep into the soil due to gravitational force of the earth that constitutes groundwater, and groundwater is an available form of water for the plant's roots to absorb. So even gravitational water is not absorbed by the plant roots. Hygroscopic water is also not absorbed by the plant roots. What about chemically combined water? Here in this pic it is not mentioned, but I am going to say you what is chemically combined water. The water present in the form of hydrated oxides of iron, aluminium, silicon, etc. The water is not pure. The water is a mixture of hydrated oxides of iron, it may be silicon, it may be aluminium, it may etc. When water is present in form of all these, whether it is good to intake the water? No, it is not available and it cannot be intaked. So when it is when it is mixed with hydrated oxides of so many iron, silicon, etc., it is chemically bound water and it is also not available for the plants. Hence the name given chemically bound water. When water is bound chemically, when water is in the form of hydrated oxides of iron, aluminium, silicon, then it won't be possible to take in such kind of water because it is not in its purest form. it is mixture of oxides of so many aluminum, silicon and so on and so forth, then how can a plant absorb such hydrated? It will be of no use. Whenever it absorbs also, it will be of no use, and it is unavailable form of water to the plants. Okay, so hygroscopic is not available, gravitational is not available. Third is chemically combined water, that is also not available form of water to the plants. Now the remaining is runoff water. What is runoff water? The water which will not be stagnant, the water which won't be constant, it will be just flowing through the slopes. When the water is not stagnant, when the water is not remaining inside embedding the soil particles, whether such kind of water one plant root can absorb? No, they cannot. If they cannot, then it is also derived as unavailable form of water, because it is not making the plant roots. The water itself is not making available for the plant roots. It is always running, hence the name running water. It is not stagnant, it is not constant, it is just running towards the slope. If such water is, we can say it is unavailable form of water to the plants. Okay, then the last one is capillary water. It is here. It is the only water which is available for the plant roots to absorb and develop for its growth. Water present in thin and narrow capillaries formed by soil particles and widely utilized by plants. The water present in the soil which can be utilized by the plants is also called as Chresard, means CHRESARD. Chresard means it is available water. Chresard actually defines, the term is given for availability of water. So this is the only kind of water wherein the plant roots can absorb. So there are various soil waters. There are hygroscopic water, gravitational water, chemically combined water, rain water, runoff water, so on and so forth. But in that all water, capillary water also, in that all types of soil water, there is one important soil water which is available, which makes itself available for the plant roots to absorb. At least one water should be there whenever it is necessary. If you are pouring from upper side, no, the leaves won't intake water, the stem won't intake water, the fruits, the flowers, the buds, whatever are there, they won't intake water. What intake water? What is the function of roots? Function of roots is absorption, absorbing of nutrients, absorbing of water. When it absorbs water only, then the metabolism, the physical activity, everything takes place. So the main function of roots is absorption. If that is not absorbing, then entire plant will dry, it will wilt off within no time. So plants need water. Okay, so water in soil water which is available for the plants, in all this capillary water is a kind of water which is available for the plants to absorb. Okay, so this is about soil water. Soil water, when we talk, it will contribute, it can contribute up to 30% of soil volume, and is essentially for essential for the activity and physiological functioning of the organisms in the soil. Actually, the water content in the soil depends on soil type. What type of soil it is? Black soil, loamy soil, clay soil, alluvial soil. There are different types of soil. So water content in it actually depends upon which type of soil it is. Okay. The water holding capacity of soil is described in terms of field capacity. It represents the soil profile's ability to retain water after the process of internal when it has completely ceased. It is usually measured about 2 days after an infiltration event. The water holding capacity of a soil depends upon soil organic matter content, and arrangement of soil pores. So, clay soils or soils with high humus content have large field capacity. Means such kind of soil will be having enough water to absorb. Means soil will be having a binding capacity to retain water in them. Clay soil, for example, when we talk about. Okay, the water stored in a soil is taken up by the plant roots or evaporated from the topsoil, the top most mineral horizon, which is rich in humus, into the atmosphere. Okay, so The amount of water held by the soil between field capacity and permanent wilting is a plant available water, or water that is available for uptake by the plants. So according to nature, these are the types of soil water which are available for the which are available and unavailable for the plants. In these many, only we can say capillary water is available for the plant roots. Fine. I hope this is clear for you. Later, in the next part, we shall see it in a next class. Thank you.